Welcome back. Now, this has been a particularly eventful economic week the past week, wasn't it? Ranging from the latest GDP statistics to the vehicle sales figures for February 2016, which all point to a continuing weak economy that we have. A recent survey also revealed there has been a decline in CEOs' confidence about the economic outlook. And then, of course, there's been the shocking announcement by NERSA of a 9.4% increase in Eskom's tariff from the 1st of April. Well, the drought is biting badly, especially on the food prices. On the other hand, the important Purchasing Managers Index, which is the PMI, showed a modest rise in February. Now, there's been a robust debate around the Gordhan-SARS tension, as you might have noticed, as well as the official announcement by Barclays plc in London to disinvest from Africa. And the outlook for the world economy remains uncertain, with commodity prices still low. Now, to unpack the state of our economy, we joined in studio by Professor Raymond Parsons of the Northwest University School of Business and Governance. Professor, once again, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Elvis.
Now, it's been an eventful week. First and foremostly, your thoughts on the week that passed?
Yes, it's been quite an eventful week. As you've indicated, there's been a combination of factors, all of which affect our economic performance, our economic perceptions. And I think we need to unpack some of them and see what are the short-term or the long-term impact of some of these developments.
Now, let's unpack the first one. 9.4%, that was the increase being given to Eskom. What impact will that have, not just on consumers, but on our economy?
Look, Elvis, I think that this Eskom problem still needs to be cracked. We're drifting into what I'd call a vicious circle here. Over the years, we've seen the cost structure of Eskom rise. They go to NERSA, they get a tariff increase. Over time, what happens is that the demand for power declines. This affects the revenues of Eskom, so they go back to NERSA and they want an even bigger increase. And this is becoming a vicious circle. And then you find that at the end of the day, the Reserve Bank gets nervous and says, well, among other reasons, because these tariffs are going up, we have to put up interest rates. We've got to break this vicious circle, and we really have to find a new business model for Eskom. We've got to recapitalize it. Actually, in my book, I'd like to see it eventually end up on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, like Telkom, and be a normal company which draws some of its finance from the private sector and operates much more efficiently than it does at the moment, because we're just into a vicious circle which is causing damage to the economy.
So is that the only state-owned enterprise that should be privatized, you think?
Well, I don't want to use that dreaded P word, privatized. There are other combinations.
Yes.
But we've got to recapitalize, we've got to be more flexible, be prepared to take in other shareholders, even if the government retains control. Because at the end of the day, this is costing business and the consumer a great deal of money, and it's putting the squeeze on the economy. And that's why it's been a major contributor to the fact that our economic performance is not what it should be.
Now, given the impact of the drought, the recent Eskom rate hike, the weak inflation, as well as our weak rand, will interest rates rise again when the MPC meet next time around?
Well, Elvis, you know, at this point in our business cycle, as you know, I've said before, I'm a dove, not a hawk about interest rates. I think we're in a very delicate phase of the business cycle where what is happening, if you keep just putting up interest rates in an aggressive way, it's going to become counterproductive. So I'm hoping that perhaps we might see a more modest decision from the Monetary Policy Committee later this month when they meet, and when they take stock of the overall economic situation. As you've indicated, our growth figures are not looking good. They're in fact looking worse. We know what the situation is on the employment front. We know the low levels of business and consumer confidence. So there's a trade-off here now. And when we also talk about the credit rating agencies, yes, they want the numbers to be right, but they want to see growth prospects. Well, you're not going to get growth prospects if you just keep putting up interest rates. Admittedly, though the Reserve Bank has a concern about inflation, but it's cost inflation. It's been caused by Eskom tariffs, by the rand and so forth, and is not amenable to being addressed by higher interest rates all the time. So I'm hoping that we'll see a more cautious approach from the Reserve Bank, given where we are at the moment in our business cycle.
But how important, Professor, are global factors for South Africa's economy? Is that something that we should be worried about?
We're a small open economy. We're not immune from what happens in the Chinese economy and elsewhere. And it's affected our commodity exports. We know that. But as the Minister of Finance himself has said, look, we can't spend our time wringing our hands about what's happening in the world economy. Because the more uncertainty there is in the world economy, the more certain we must be about our own decisions, the fundamental decisions we take here over which we do have control. So we must generate more certainty and predictability about where we are going. And given the changes in the world economy, we must also ensure that we're going to be more competitive. So I think that's tremendously important. If we want to enlarge our share of world trade and world investment, we've got to get out there and make it happen.
I see the Minister of Finance there on the big screen, but the budget made certain important announcements and commitments about future economic and fiscal policy. Will this be enough to fend off a possible downgrade by the international ratings agencies?
I agree with what the Minister of Finance said in the last day or so. He said he didn't think the budget in itself would be enough. Yes, there are some important things in the budget. I think the numbers look better on the fiscal side. I also think that some of the restructuring of the economy, which he supports, but which the Cabinet as a whole will have to implement, you can't put all that onto the shoulders of the Minister of Finance. It seems to me that the jury is still out unless we can convince them, as the Minister of Finance apparently is going to do in the next few days, together with the private sector, to say we are busy with certain projects which will make a difference and which can get this economy moving and create the jobs that we want. So I'm hoping that if that is a persuasive case, we might be able to buy time.
Now, we're talking about international factors and investor confidence, and one of them is very important, the withdrawal of Barclays PLC. What can we read into that?
I think what we must read into it is, look, if ever there was a playing field in which we have a comparative and a competitive advantage, it's Africa. This whole process of disengagement is going to be spread over a period of 2 or 3 years. If we play our cards well, we can actually strengthen our hand in the continent. I think it's an opportunity rather than a risk. But it all depends on the strategy we develop. And once again, if we come back to the broader picture, the image we project of our ability to do things and to walk the talk.
Final word from you, Professor?
Well, I think it's going to be a tough year. But I think the important point that comes through, both from what the President said and indeed what the Minister of Finance has said, yes, of course it's going to be a tough year. Yes, of course there are going to be serious challenges. But we're only going to meet them if we rally around and do something about it. And I come back to my point. What gives people hope is the perception that we're walking the talk and not just talking. And if we can get all stakeholders to do that, then we can build that confidence and that hope that everyone wants to see for our economy over the next few years.
Professor, as usual, thank you so much for joining us here in studio.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Parsons. As you know, he's from the Northwest University School of Business and Governance, and joining us every Friday to give us an update on the week that passed. Now, the Cape Town Community Chess Carnival is back with a refreshed and revitalized feel for the year. The 4-day family carnival features tastes from around the globe, as well as trendy craft beers and gourmet food, all in the name of charity. Community Chess provides support to more than 200 community organizations throughout the province. The festival hosts around 80,000 people each year and will take place on the 30th of March to the 2nd of April at the traditional venue of Maynardsville Park in Wynberg. Joining us now from our Seapoint studios is the CEO of the Community Carnival, Lorenzo David. Lorenzo, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning. It's great to be here. Thank you for having us.
First and foremost, tell us about this Community Chess Carnival. What is it all about?
So for the last 60-odd years, the people of Cape Town has gathered together to celebrate what we call the space for charity and for people to engage, to both enjoy good cuisine, good food, good entertainment, but also to give back to society. And this is a space where we believe the world meets for good, and Carnival is exactly that space, an opportunity for communities to gather together, to have fun, and also to give back.
Now, what new attractions have been added to the festival this year?
Yeah, the 2016 Carnival, Community Chess Carnival Festival is really a unique festival. Not only do we believe that we have something very special on offer in terms of cuisine, cuisine from China, from South Africa, from Egypt, from all over the continent, from the Americas, from Europe and Asia, where communities get together to come and share that cuisine with local people. We have tourists coming in to see the festival. But this year we will also have, for example, music acts. We will have a film festival run by Short and Sweet with both a teen festival and an adult film festival as part of this year's Community Chess Carnival. And I think it's those unique offerings that makes this a very, very special event.
Now, I see some of the pictures of some of the cuisine that people can enjoy. Talk to me about the cuisine that people can savor at on that particular day. And is it all about Cape Malay foods, or what is it all about?
It is this hybrid of foods coming together. South Africa is a rich country, the home of many, many cultures. And the Community Chess Carnival is that space. So you'll have Chinese food, you'll have South African traditional food, you'll have food from different cultures within South Africa. You'll taste European cuisine from all over the European continent. You'll have your Asians, your Korean, your Japanese style foods. We're trying to bring in foods from other parts of the world. And this is what Carnival has always been. You're going to have Greek, you're going to have Egyptian cuisine. It's this space where people really come together and see something that is very, very unique. The point of all of this is that it really goes about tasting something tasteful, enjoying a ride, enjoying a music festival, drinking a craft beer, but essentially people's hearts and minds are connected around one great purpose, and that is to give back to society. Every cent raised at Carnival goes to good causes, and that's what's unique about this event.
Tell me some about these causes that you are giving this money to, because you're trying to raise funds especially for the local community organizations, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been our custom for the last 60 years to do that. And money that we raise here goes primarily to education. It's important for us to use the resources and opportunities to ensure that our children get a good education. And Carnival has been instrumental in elevating the ability to raise that resource to all of our communities. You know, when I see people come through the gates and you see the hordes, the children, the adults, the old people, you get a sense of what is possible in South Africa, that sense of people really coming to say, I want to help my community. And this is what this is about. And so money will go to education, money will go to health, money will go to job creation exercises, and money will go to community development. But primarily, our main focus is to make sure that kids can get to school, stay in school, and finish school. And Carnival is one of our tools to get that job done.
Now, there are often concerns around security at many similar events like this that take place around the country. What security measures have been taken to ensure people's safety?
One of our key features with events like this, and when we run a few events, is to ensure that every child that comes into our facility gets tagged. No child enters the facility without being identified and tagged. That's very, very important. So if that child gets lost anywhere on the venue, security will simply look at his tag and we'll be able to trace his parents. The second part of this is to ensure that there are spaces for people to put their bags. There are secure storage for people to come and leave their bags and enjoy the event. And thirdly, there's also perimeter security and security moving throughout the grounds to ensure that people feel a sense of safety. So you don't want to diminish the sense of enjoyment, but you want to make sure that everybody knows that within an arm's length, within a shout or a call, there's security for people both inside the grounds and in the surrounding car park spaces.
Can you give us one reason why the community of Cape Town should come out and enjoy the carnival, and where do they get those tickets?
This is about all of us. It's the great South African story. It's about all of us making a difference in the lives of people who live next door to us. That's what South Africans are known for. It's the great South African story. And so the reason why they must come is to give back, is to celebrate and say, we belong here. This is our country. This is what we live for. And these are the spaces that we want to make a difference in. People can get the tickets from Community Chess offices. They can also get it by just going onto our website and ordering those tickets and leaving us a message. The email address is info@comchest.org.za, info@comchest.org.za. They can send us an email, or they can go on the website and get details about where to purchase those tickets.
And how much are the tickets, by the way?
The tickets are 50 Rand. However, for older persons, pensioners, they get in for free because we celebrate the fact that older persons have been a part of Carnival for many, many, many years. And so our pensioners get in free. Our children pay a lesser price, and all adults over 18 pay 50 Rand.
Just remind us again about the sort of entertainment that people can expect on the day.
Yeah, so they're going to have Jimmy Nevis is going to be there, Lukman Adams is going to be there, the Wonder Years are going to be there, and a host of other artists are all going to be a part of Carnival 2016.
And it's on the 30th of March to the 2nd of April.
That's right.
Thank you so much for your time. That was the CEO of the Community Carnival, Lorenzo Davids, in our Cape Town studios. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Well, there you have it. Go and have a good time at the Carnival in Cape Town. Now let's take a look at all your newspapers from around the globe. We're starting off, in fact, on the continent. We're starting off here in Swaziland. The Swaziland Observer reports that the U.S. President Barack Obama ordered the suspension of duty-free treatment to all AGOA-eligible goods in the agricultural sector from South Africa, effective on March the 15th. Moving to Nigeria, Daily Trust says that Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele has said that over 20 billion rand is idle in residence accounts of private individuals at a time when the country is facing foreign exchange crisis. And finally, in Angola, the journal Angola reports that the President of the Republic, José Eduardo dos Santos, yesterday swore Conselheiros of the Constitutional Court and Supreme Court, which was appointed on Monday. Those are all your newspapers from the African continent. Now we'll take a short break and Newsroom will be back at the top of the hour.
SABC News. We report, contextualize and present news and current affairs honestly, fairly and fully. We consider it a duty to provide consistent, relevant, useful and top quality information and analysis. Our mission is to provide credible, accurate and interesting news programming, bringing news into everyone's homes in everyone's languages. Thank you, South Africa, for relying on SABC News for quality news output and for making us your #1 source of information. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Technology isn't all scary. There's also fun stuff like gaming.
Lots of women do play games, whether it's on their phones or their tablets.
Then there are Africans who are using new tools to make other people's lives much easier.
We typed the whole CV on a small, QWERTY Nokia phone.
For all these and other technology and social media news, join me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time on SABC News.
For victory requires intense effort and teamwork. When you get to it, there is no turning back because all eyes are on you. When it's action time, nothing should stand in your way. Sports Live tackles and analyzes all the sport action. This is the home of all your sport news, updates and more. Sports Live weekdays at 8:30 p.m.
Children's rights and health are a priority in the journey of good health.
All children should have access to adequate health care, not only curative but preventative as well.
How to identify ADHD on children.
ADHD is a childhood disorder which manifests with the symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity, and/or inattention.
Is breastfeeding still a vital nutrition to babies even today?
Breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life is absolutely crucial.
Catch Health Talk with Dr. Sello Mutawun every Saturday from 9 till 10 a.m.
It's 1100 hours Central Africa time on this Friday, the 4th of March 2016. This is Newsroom on SABC News on Channel 404. If you've just joined us, Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to the final hour as we broadcast live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. I'm Elvis Preston. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock. As you know, we're also streaming live on YouTube with the entire show now available on our YouTube channel. The question that we pose to you is a very interesting one. Do you know there's 9 million unregistered voters in this country? The question we pose to you, are you one of them? Let us know on our Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on our Facebook page. But first, let's take a look at your news headlines. Oscar Pistorius' family will comment at a later stage on the Constitutional Court ruling dismissing the Paralympian's application for leave to appeal his murder conviction. The Independent Electoral Commission, the IEC, has urged all eligible voters to register and update their details ahead of the upcoming municipal elections. And pressure is building on the United Nations Security Council to establish an arms embargo on South Sudan. Now, these are some of your stories coming up in the final hour, but first, before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening on the sports front. A very good morning.
Elvis, a good morning to you. It's a big weekend ahead of us. Lots of rugby, lots of football to entertain, as well as tennis. Good morning. This is what we have for you in the sports today.
We're ticking all the boxes as a team. There's no area in our team where I feel it's a weakness. I feel every gap has been plugged, and that's really nice to have.
Proteas T20 captain Faf du Plessis is full of confidence ahead of tonight's T20 match against Australia.
I love the way that they play, and it's a wide game, and it's a running brand of rugby, and which is dangerous. It's always difficult to play them up there.
In Super Rugby, the Stormers travel to Bloemfontein under no illusion that it will be an easy match. And it's Soweto derby time again as Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates face off in a Nedbank Cup last 32 tie over the weekend. And that's a sneak peek into what we have for you in the sports later on at about 11:30 or so. Back to you, Elvis.
Thank you, Kendall. That's all coming up later, but right now, your top story this hour. Oscar Pistorius' family will comment at a later stage on the Constitutional Court ruling dismissing the Paralympian's application for leave to appeal his murder conviction. Family spokesperson Annalisa Burgess says that she has informed the family of the ruling and they're deciding on the way forward. Pistorius, who is out on bail of 10,000 rand, will now have to appear in the High Court in Pretoria on April 18 for sentencing. He approached the Constitutional Court after the Supreme Court of Appeal overturned his culpable homicide conviction and ruled that he was guilty of murdering Riva Steenkamp 3 years ago. But the state opposed his appeal at the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. Earlier, the state said they would ask the court to impose a minimum 15-year sentence against Pistorius for killing Riva Steenkamp. The National Prosecuting Authority has welcomed the judgment. Former Jozi FM DJ Donald Sibilai will be sentenced is currently being sentenced in the High Court sitting in Palm Reach in Gauteng today. Now, Sibilai has been convicted of killing his girlfriend, Dolly Chabalala, in 2014. During the closing arguments, the state argued that Donald Sibilai deserved more than 15 years imprisonment. The prosecutor argued that Sibilai only felt sorry for himself and was not remorseful. Sibilai's defense, however, argued for a lesser sentence, saying that he was a first-time offender. The defense also asked the court to take into account the fact that Chabalala succumbed to a single stab wound. Chabalala's family say they want justice for their daughter's murder. And we'll bring you an update on that story a little bit later. Now, the Independent Electoral Commission says it's ready for the 2016 municipal elections ahead of voter registration weekend. South Africans have been encouraged to register and check their details on the voters' roll this weekend. Now, earlier, we spoke to the Deputy Chief Electoral Matters, Simon Mabolo.
Is the process for the 2016 municipal elections in earnest. We are comfortable as the Commission that we've done and put in place everything that we needed to ensure that when South Africans come to voting stations tomorrow and Sunday, they receive the best service that could be offered to them.
1.5 million voters so far. What is your target for this weekend to register?
No, we have just under 25 million South Africans who are already on the roll. For this weekend, we hope to add another million people onto the voters' roll.
So, as a first-time voter, I get to the voter registration poll. What do I need to bring with me to that voting poll?
Well, the critical document to bring to the registration station is the ID, and there are three forms of that. Firstly, is the smart card ID, the green barcoded ID, or in case you lose any of those, a temporary identification certificate issued by the Department of Home Affairs. The department has indicated to us that they will be operating all their offices tomorrow, and they'll deploy further the mobile units to ensure that people can be given the temporary identity certificates.
Now, there you have it, but remember that we're also asking you a very important question. It is voter registration weekend this weekend. Are you one of those who are not registered? Well, that's the question we pose to you. Let us know on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on our Facebook page. You know, there's 9 million people in this country that's not registered to vote. Are you one of them? Let me know. Let's move on to another story now. Management at the Lily Gold Mine near Barberton in Mpumalanga say that the drilling of a second escape route has been completed. Authorities have described the operation as dangerous and complex. A team of experts have gone underground to assess whether it is safe to resume the search for 3 workers that were trapped inside the container. Pratin Gambule, Yvonne Mnisi and Solomon Nyarende were working in a container office when it fell into an 80-meter deep sinkhole nearly a month ago. Rescue operations have been delayed by subsequent rockfalls. The operations at the mine remain search and rescue. Mine spokesperson Kutsia Zitzman says the completion of drilling of the 80-meter long escape route is a positive step. Now, here's some good news for you. Last night, the prestigious IAB Bookmark Awards took place in Newtown in Johannesburg. The SABC's Christelle de Toey won top honours for excellence in news and feature writing. Both Christelle and the SABC Digital Newsroom as a whole had been shortlisted for the awards in different categories. Joining us now in studio to talk about the awards and the new digital journalism landscape in general is SABC's award-winning journalist, Christelle de Toey. A very good morning and congratulations to you at first.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Was this expected?
Not at all, but I suppose in a certain way, yes. The office entry links very much with my entry in that all the work we entered was very much collaborative. It very much spoke to bringing together the skills of the SABC across platforms. So we had television content in our features, we had radio content in our features, we had regional content in our features, and then visualizations. So the stories we've been doing is very much embracing the strength of the SABC and the fact that we've got all this content coming in from different places. I think it speaks to the work happening in the SABC in general, but certainly SABC Digital Newsroom on adapting to new technologies, adapting to new tools and techniques, and pushing what is known as digital journalism.
Tell us about the work you entered and what this award actually means for you.
So I entered a body of work for features, and I didn't have a conscious theme in it, but there was quite a marked theme in the end, for example, around the role of women in the economy. The Department of Women in the Presidency reported a Status of Women report last year, and I unpacked this and started adding television content and expert analysis and all kinds of things. And we found very shortly that the restrictions that impoverished women at the bottom end of the economy face and the inherent structural challenges they face are the same at the top end. We unpacked, for example, together with colleagues, structural unfairness in the electoral system and how it is biased against female candidates. And then we did some beautiful work, for example, in collaboration with Nozintombi Mia of our television news desk on Marikana, and going back and saying, in a news landscape where we often know a whole lot about very little and we just read headlines and have conversations based on them, let's go back to the meaning of what these events are and revisit Marikana and where it came from.
Now, we understand that this award comes at a very, very, very strategic point in both your career and the SABC's adoption of social media. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it's quite exciting for me. I've done television and radio and all kinds of journalism, and I'm now joining the SABC politics team. And the politics team as a whole is very much embracing social media. So, for example, the past week, our politics team in Johannesburg has been undergoing intensive social media training, and we will be placing a social media focus on not only our political activities here, also in Parliament, also on the foreign desk. And very soon, I think you'll see some dedicated social media streams in that regard. And it really just speaks to the SABC is seeing tremendous reach in Africa and internationally as a whole. Sarah Kamani, for example, in Kenya, is incredibly prominent on Twitter in that region of Africa. Sherwin Bryce-Pease in New York is a prolific tweeter, and it's really just seeing how can we enhance this and drive this. And yeah, I've interacted with some of our seasoned political journalists who said to me there's no way they'll get on social media, and they've learned the power of what these tools can do. So hopefully we see them there tweeting.
How has this new media changed the news and the media landscape in South Africa, and especially here at the SABC, and are we using it enough?
So the key thing is that due to social media, for example, journalists are not going to realistically break the news. You might get lucky and break something, yeah, especially if you're with a newsmaker and you get a prominent tweet. But protests on a university campus are going to be broken by the students. Protests in the streets are going to be broken by the people marching. Your role as journalist becomes value add. And this is where digital journalism offers such a tremendous platform. Because you can now say, yes, this event happened, but what's the background? What's the depth? What's the analysis? What's the context? The story around women in the economy, for example, we took to an international stage and said, how do women feature in the economy internationally? What is the role of education in that? And you can add tremendous depth and value because you as journalists, it's no longer optional to have a social media skill set. It has to be part of your social media skill set, but use that to play to your strengths.
Social media very strong, but what are some of those pitfalls?
Well, one has to be careful. Whatever you say on social media and online stays there. You know, in the past, if I said something in a cocktail party in a specific context, people would understand it such. Now, if I put it on social media, there's no context, there's no body language, there's no tone, and it can always be found, even if you delete it. So from a journalistic point of view, if you make an error, apologize. It doesn't help to delete it. You can't hide the fact that you made an error, but be very upfront about where the error came from and be very clear about why you are in social media in the first place.
Your advice to journalists in general about using social media?
People need to be clear, I think, whether it's a journalist or a television program or a channel or an entire organization as to why are they on social media. There are different reasons. Some people want to make a profile in an entertainment context. Some people want to monitor news, organize newsmakers and that kind of thing. So if you're going on social media, be very clear as to why you're there, because that will dictate what platform you go on and how you will behave yourself. But the most important thing is if you wouldn't say something live on television or radio, don't say it on social media.
Christelle, once again, thank you so much and congratulations on the award. That was Christelle du Toit, our award-winning journalist here in studio with us. Moving further afield now, pressure is building on the United Nations Security Council to establish an arms embargo on South Sudan. The senior UN official has for the first time placed the death toll from the country's over 2-year civil war at 5 times of previous estimates. The official says that possibly more than 50,000 people have died, with over 2 million refugees internally displaced due to fighting between forces loyal to the current president, Salva Kiir, and his reappointed deputy, Riek Machar.
The senior official cannot be named due to the background nature of the briefing, but the message was quite clear, that the situation in South Sudan was absolutely lamentable, despite the peace deal being signed in August last year. The official said the parties to that agreement continue to drag their feet, that, quote, whatever they say, they don't appear to be concerned by the suffering of their people. The official, speaking candidly, said there was quibbling on both sides, that people are suffering more than they did during the decades-long Sudanese civil war, and pointed to the need for the Security Council to move on this arms embargo. But despite support from several permanent members of the Council, Russia has expressed opposition to such a move. We raised the question of the embargo with the Council President earlier this week.
When it comes, we will judge according to the situation. I hope that if the war reduces in intensity, there is not widespread killings as we still see, and those widespread killings are by small arms, are by weapons of, small. That's the reason why we are just dealing with it. So we'll judge it according to the evolution we see on the ground. And apparently what we see now gives us hope that we will not need to revert to those measures in order to make the process advance.
The UN official says fighting has not stopped in the country while they continue to investigate fighting that erupted at a UN protection site in Malakal in the country's northeast that left 18 people dead in February. The UN shelters 200,000 people at sites across South Sudan. Sherwin Brycepease, SABC News, New York.
Well, that's the news for now. We'll take a break and we'll be right back with Eben with your regional news. Stay tuned.
News Today takes an in-depth look on news locally, continentally, and globally. We bring the world to your home. We cover all economy news extensively to keep you informed. We are live to break news as and when they happen across the world. We analyze news using experts in all aspects. Make a date with News Today every Monday to Friday from 3 to 5:30 p.m.
Hello again, you're still with Newsroom here on SABC News. It's just after 11:15 in the morning. Yeah, it's a Friday morning, of course, in South Africa. Time for us here to shift our focus and take a more regional look at the news now. I can tell you the Independent Electoral Commission in the Northern Cape, they say they're ready for this weekend's voter registration process. The IEC says all systems have been put in place and new voting districts that have been created following changes to some of the ward boundaries. Community members across the province have been urged to go and register or to verify their details. Now, joining us from our studios in Kimberley is the Provincial IEC Chair, Mr. Bonolo Modise. A very good morning to you, Mr. Modise. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning to you, Mr. Jansen, and to the viewers.
Mr. Modise, just give us a quick overview. Where are we in the Northern Cape and what is the outlook like ahead of this weekend's voter registration drive there?
We're very positive in the province that the turnout will be very good this weekend for the registration. As a province, we've put in place processes and plans to ensure that everybody who visits our stations over the weekend is assisted as quickly as is possible. So we are ready as a province to welcome voters to stations.
Tell us your outlook with regards to changes to boundaries and so forth in the province there. Do you expect it to have any effect on what you're trying to achieve this weekend?
Not really. We have embarked on a process to inform voters who could have been affected by the changes that new stations have been established, and we have embarked on a communication and registration drive in those areas to ensure that those people are not left out come election day. So as far as I'm concerned, people know where they are supposed to go over the weekend, and I'm confident that people will go to the right stations to go and register and also to verify their details on the voters' roll.
9 million unregistered voters in South Africa at the moment. Tell us about the situation in the Northern Cape, and then nationwide, how do you view this big number?
Well, you would understand, Mr. Jansen, that it is not a requirement for a voter, or people are not forced to go and register. Our message to voters is to encourage them at all times to exercise that constitutional right to vote whenever an election is called. The message is no different this time. We encourage South Africans who are eligible to vote to visit our voting stations and put their names on the voters' roll, because we do not want a situation where on election day you have not registered and you are interested on voting on that particular day. So our message is a very basic one. Go out to your nearest voting station where you are ordinarily resident and ensure that we include your name on the segment of the voters' roll.
That's a message. And then what should first-time voters be thinking of? What should they be taking with them? What sort of conversation should they be having with your officials over the weekend?
The requirements for you to be included in the roll is to be a South African resident or citizen, to have a green barcoded ID in case you don't have one, you've got a smart ID card or a temporary ID. One of these three documents would allow you to be registered at a station. Remember, registration has to be done in person, so you can't send your friend or anybody else to go and do that on your behalf. You have to go to a station. So to those who have not registered in the past, make sure that you come with your ID document to the station, and a registration official will assist you once you are at the station.
The Northern Cape, it's one of the big provinces here in South Africa, with often vast distances for people to travel and so forth. How do you mitigate that over this weekend? And then what are some of the other unique challenges that the province is faced with?
Well, as you correctly point out, distances in the province are our biggest challenge. However, we have ensured that at all stations that we have agreed to use in the province, that we've got competent people deployed at those voting stations. We have stations in the Kalahari Transfrontier Park as an example, and we have ensured that the registration officials who assist us in that station are at the park today, and they will only come out of the park on Sunday, because if they were to go back to their place of residence, it would be a very difficult logistical arrangement. So we deal with situations as they come. But overall, we don't have problems with the deployment of registration officers to stations.
I thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Bonolo Modise. He's the Provincial IEC Chair in the Northern Cape. He's telling us it's all systems go for this weekend's voter registration process. That's municipal elections happening here in South Africa this year. Of course, we asked the question a little bit earlier. 9 million people are not registered. Are you one of those? What are your concerns? Let's have a look at some of the live tweets that people have been tweeting with regards to our question of the day. We do have live tweets. We don't have live tweets, unfortunately. Moving right along, Minister of Communications, Faith Muthambi, is revisiting the Kemus area in the Northern Cape to get a first-hand progress update on the installation of set-top boxes there. This as the country moves from analog to digital. Kemus is located as one of the radio-sensitive areas due to the Square Kilometre Array Project, or the SCAR project, where the world's largest radio telescope is being constructed. Today, 76% of TV viewing households in the Northern Cape have registered for government-subsidised set-top boxes. Now, our reporter Keith Seister joins us from Kemus this morning to talk a little bit more about the Minister's visit and the ongoing rollout. Very good morning to you, Keith. Thank you for joining us. Before you go into our interview, just take us back to what's been going on and set the scene for the Minister's visit today.
Very good morning to you as well. Eben, now, Minister Mutambi visited this area, Kaimus and Kakamas area, late last year in December, around about the 17th of December. And that was the start of the rollout of some of these set-top boxes that was installed in some of the houses of residents here. Now, a couple of residents already are using their set-top boxes, and it's very successful from what I saw. The Minister is going to be back here a bit later this afternoon to have a first-hand experience of what it's like now and how residents are experiencing the set-top boxes. Now, with me to give us a bit of insight into what the Minister's coming to do
don't have the same viewers
in the project is the communications. I'm sorry, I can't hear you this again.
No, please carry on, Keith. Thank
with
you.
Us to speak to us. Thank you very much, Eben. To speak to me about the Minister's visit and a bit about the rollout project is the Minister's communication spokesperson, Mish Molakeng. Good morning to you, Mish. Give us an indication of what the Minister is going to be doing here this afternoon.
Look, in December, exactly to be precisely on the 17th of December 2015, Minister made a commitment to the recipients of set-top boxes to say that to them, she will come back to do an aftercare and understand if there are any problems, to understand how has been the viewing experience. The Minister has made it sure that we are not just dumping boxes, but however, we're coming back to make sure that if there are any challenges and that we address them. But so far I can tell that the community here has not experienced any challenges. It's very exciting, but the Minister will speak on that a bit later. But over and above that as well, remember that this project it's benefiting the people on the ground. So Minister will later today as well be issuing the certificates to the 8 trained installers from this community, which includes Kakamas and Kemos. Remember that these installers are from these townships. So it's very important that we give back to the community, and the Minister will be issuing them after successfully completing, this beneficiary completing the training program of installation. So later this afternoon, that's what is going to be happening.
Now, Mish, there's a process that beneficiaries have to go through before they can actually qualify for a set-top box. What is the criteria that they need to meet to qualify?
When we're talking about the beneficiaries of these set-top boxes, we're talking about the indigent households. We're talking about people that earn below the threshold of 3,200. Now, what they need to do is that they need to go to your nearest post office with an ID, with a proof of residential, and a proof of income. In the absence of the proof of income, the applicant need to go to the police station to make an affidavit to say that I'm unemployed. I'm here to make an affidavit so that they can be able to apply. The one other thing that they need to also to produce, it's the existence of a TV license. Whether it's fully paid or not, we are not here to collect money. What we're saying that it's a form of proof to say that I, as an individual, I own a television set. So it's just an indication, a proof to say that an individual, an indigent household, owns a television set. So these are 4 things that I've mentioned. A proof of income. In the absence of proof of income, we talk about the affidavit from the police station, the FICA, the proof of residential address, the ID, and the TV license. We are not interested whether it's fully paid or not. We just want to see that the particular applicant is actually owning a TV set.
Now, what is the benefits of these set-top boxes for the community here in Kaimus, Kakamas, and other parts of the Northern Cape as well, Mish?
We're talking about picture quality here. Remember that in some of these areas, particularly in this SK area, people will only be able receiving one signal from the SABC, which is SABC2. For a number of years. I know that's that's something. Now the people of Kakamas and Kimos and all these towns in the Northern Cape, they will have an experience of watching an HD quality television. They'll be able to watch their SABC 3. They will be able to watch their SABC 2 and SABC 1. Remember that SABC, the later stage as well, will be launching 2 more other channels. So these are some of the benefits that comes in. The picture quality is perfect. The sound is perfect. Over and above that, they can access their radio stations. All 19 SABC 19 radio stations, they can be able to access them through these set-top boxes. So, for instance, I mean, they don't need to be in KZN to listen to the radio station from that province. They don't need to be in the Eastern Cape to listen to Mhlobo Wenene. They can be able to listen to these radio stations while in the Northern Province, or So these are some of the benefits that comes with this project.
Now, there's this rollout project of the set-top boxes. Is it going to be rolled out in other provinces of the country as well in soon?
We have started that. We started installation here in the Northern Province last year. We have since moved to Mpumalanga, Limpopo and Free State, but just with only registration process. So in Mpumalanga, Limpopo and Free State, the registration process has started. And we will be visiting these provinces as well to start the installation process as well. So we are slowly spreading ourselves across the country and making sure that working against tight deadlines, the South Africans realize the digital migration and the benefits of that. Remember, beyond just the benefits of the digital migration, just the quality of television, we're also talking about freeing much needed spectrum for other broadband usages. So there's a need for us, to drive this project. And Minister Mutambi, it's a project that is very close to her heart. And she's been working on the tight deadlines to make sure that the project becomes, we realize the program. Remember that the policy of the digital migration was gazetted on the 18th of March 2015. We're talking now 12 months later, we have started installing the set-top boxes. We are hard at work. Minister, she's serious about the project. We're working against tight deadlines to make sure that we deliver the project to the South Africans.
Now, Mish, if beneficiaries are interested in registering, some people might ask, do I have to have money in my hand when I go to the post office to register?
The policies make it clear that this is the project for the government is fully subsidizing these set-top boxes for indigent households. You don't need to have money to go to the post office. All you need is 4 documents that I've mentioned: your ID, your proof of income. In absentia of that, affidavit from the police station, FICA, which is the proof of residential address, and existence of the TV license. We are not interested in whether it's fully paid or not. We just want to see that you own a television set. So these are the 4 requirements. You don't need to have any money to do so. You just walk to your nearest post office and you'll be able to register for these devices and so that in the later stage can be installed in your house.
Now, the set-top boxes and the DSTV decoder should not be confused. Is that so?
Yes. This is, the set-top boxes, what it simply does is that it converts the analog signal into digital. That's the primarily function of the set-top box, which is what we are currently doing. This is not pay TV. This is a free-to-air that we're talking about here. So what we're saying is that what it does basically it just converts the signal from analog to digital.
Well, thank you very much there to Mish Molokeng, the spokesperson for Minister Faith Mutambi. With that, it is back to the studio, Eben.
Thank you very much, Keith Seister. Keith Seister coming to you live there from Camus, that is in the Northern Cape, where the Minister of Communications, Faith Mutambi, of course, will do a progress update on the rollout of the DTT set-top boxes there today. Now, time flies. That's where we wrap this regional look at the news, where we go around the country to the places that you don't normally see. Today, we came to you from Camus for the digital rollout. Let's go. Well, we're going to take a short break. After the break, Kendall will wrap up the show with a comprehensive sports update. Don't go away.
A victory requires intense effort and teamwork. When you get to it, there is no turning back. Because all eyes are on you. When it's action time, nothing should stand in your way. Sports Live tackles and analyzes all the sport action. This is the home of all your sport news, updates, and more. Sports Live weekdays at 8:30 p.m.
A romantic adventure film starring Ivan Buerta and Donnelly Roberts. The story begins in the beautiful vineyards of Paarl in the Western Cape. The adventure takes off when the characters find themselves on the tropical island of Love, Mauritius.
Josephine's work is more interesting and distinguishable. She visits war-stricken zone countries to tell the story of the damage war often leaves behind.
This particular exhibition's case, places that are named after conflict or disaster or war or reconciliation.
And basically what it is it's a collection of the best animated short films from around the world this year. And the idea is to inspire animators and directors with this exciting content. And so that's been offered to us as a cinema, and we're very excited to be screening the animated show of shows here in South Africa.
Join Refulo Mula for that 1 hour weekly dose of arts and entertaining news every Friday at 9 p.m. on Trends.
Welcome back. I'm Kendall Makhamati with your sports on Newsroom. Our top story for this hour is South Africa's T20 cricket captain, Faf du Plessis, is confident that there's no area of weakness in the Proteas squad, which takes on Australia later today. The Proteas and Australians square up at Kingsmead in Durban in the first of a 3-match international series.
The Proteas go into this international T20 series with better performances behind them ahead of the World Cup. They ranked 2nd and Australia 6th in the world. And the Proteas would want to maintain the momentum going into the World T20 in India later this month.
It looks like we're ticking all the boxes as a team. There's no area in our team where I feel it's a weakness. I feel every gap has been plugged, and that's really nice to have.
And the Australians, although not all that experienced, cannot be underestimated.
We've got a good bunch together at the moment. We've got a good mix of some explosive batters, some guys that get off strike really well, a lot of wicket takers, and a good fielding side, which is really important in T20 cricket. And yeah, hopefully we can start working our way up those rankings.
The South African women's side meets the West Indies in an international T20 match at Kingsmead before the main fixture.
We've got 3 T20s against the West Indies now, where we'll work on some combinations for the World Cup to just make sure that we get everything nice and ready.
Both sides are remaining tight-lipped about team selection. There's good news on the weather front. No rain is expected at Kingsmead, where on many occasions a downpour has stopped play. Renee Heiner, SABC News, Durban.
Another story that's been trending all of yesterday and today is Saturday's Nedbank Cup first round match between Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates at the FNB Stadium will have added importance for the two giants of South African soccer. While Chiefs hope it will be a third time lucky after reaching the finals of the 2 cup competitions and winning not a single one of them, Pirates are aware that they need to win the competition if they want to play on the continent next season.
A win for either team will ensure passage to the last 16 of the only remaining cup competition in domestic football. It will also keep alive hopes of winning some silverware this season, with both teams having had a barren season so far. But for the Buccaneers, winning the competition might be their last chance to qualify for the next CAF Confederation Cup.
It's extremely important for us for 2 reasons. One, we want to finish off the season with a trophy. And 2, we're also well aware that it gives us that opportunity, obviously, to then participate in the Confederations Cup. And that's obviously where I would like to be again, and so would the players.
Chiefs are still among the contenders for the league title, lying in 3rd place on the log, although Mamelodi Sundowns look certain to be crowned champions in May. The Nedbank Cup is therefore probably the Amakos' last realistic chance of silverware after the team lost in the MTN 8 and Telkom knockout finals.
We've been through two finals. We want to not only go to finals, we want to win finals. And the next match is no different. Unfortunately, it happens to be Orlando Pirates.
Saturday's encounter will be the 5th meeting between the two sides this season, and will kick off at 3 o'clock. Pesing Katlu, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now, here's a quick list of all the fixtures for this coming weekend that you can expect in terms of all the action. First up tonight, we've got Bidvest against Bloem Celtic at the Bidvest Stadium. Kickoff is at 8 p.m. We've got a winner for this particular competition. If you remember, we were giving away tickets, and that winner is Mkhululi Mwekazi. Mkhululi Mwekazi is our winner for those match tickets. Tell you what, we'll be making sure that he has a good time at that particular match. Then we have Steenberg United playing Platinum Stars, and then tomorrow we've got Orlando Pirates up against Kaizer Chiefs, the big match of the weekend. All roads lead to FNB Stadium for that 3 p.m. kickoff. Also kicking off at 3 p.m. are two other matches. One is out at the Kings Wellington Stadium. That's Golden Arrows are playing Milford, and then ECBs are playing Magesi at Buffalo City, Eastern Cape side. Then Ajax Cape Town at 6 p.m. they welcome Free State Stars to Athlone Stadium. And then, of course, we've got University of Pretoria playing Polokwane City Rovers at the Duck Stadium at 8:15. Of course, there will be other matches being played during the course of next week, but we'll bring you that fixture list on Monday morning. Now, Bafana coach Shakes Mashaba will next week announce his team for 2 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Cameroon. Shona Hendricks, the head of sports science at the High Performance Center, reckons Mashaba will have his hands full managing team selection on the back of a busy season for his Chargers.
It's very, very important for him to consider the travel, the effects of travel, the effects of, I know Sundowns, Wits and Chiefs are playing in the CAF Champions League the week before, so really the loads and recovery of those players specifically are going to be key. So you're wanting your players at their peak performance, obviously leading into a national team that is such an important qualifier, but it's really, really important for him to monitor the loads and recovery of the players that have played the weeks before. Obviously, we're coming up to the end of the season now as well. The players would have had a season full of an accumulated load on their bodies, so they are going to be tired. So he and his scientific support team really need to manage the players really well here going into these 2 games.
Right now, it's Super Rugby weekend. Here's a quick list of all the fixtures for this particular weekend. As I mentioned earlier on, the Crusaders Blues match is now completed. 28-13 for the Crusaders winning out in Christchurch. The Brumbies, they did extremely well. They're heading up the Australian Conference. They did extremely well last week. They're playing the Waratahs, and that match kicked off at about an hour ago. We will have a score only after the end of the show. Chiefs, they're playing the Lions tomorrow morning in Hamilton, 6:15 kickoff at 8:35 in the morning in Dunedin. Used to be called the House of Pain. That's where the Highlanders played the Hurricanes in a replay of last year's Super Rugby final. The Reds against the Force, that's an Australian derby. That's in Brisbane at 11:15. And at 3 in the afternoon in Pretoria, Loftus Versfeld is where the Bulls take on the Rebels. The Cheetahs, they'll welcome the Stormers to Bloemfontein. That match kicking off at 5:10. Then to close it all off is the Sharks against the Jaguares from Argentina, playing in Durban at 7:20. You will notice that both the Kings and Sunwolves are not playing this weekend. They both get a bye. Now, staying with more rugby news, but more going to the boardroom, and it's about Yuri Roux. The Executive Council of South African Rugby have said that Yuri Roux retains its unanimous support to continue in his role as the organization's CEO. The announcement was made after South African Rugby sought expert legal opinion. This in the wake of renewed reporting of allegations against Roux with regards to the funding of Stellenbosch University Rugby Club. Advocates S.A. Cilliers, SC, and Professor Michael Katz were asked to review South African Rugby's handling of the matter and the relevant labour law on the basis of the evidence at hand. They recommended that South African Rugby continue to employ Roux as long as he performed satisfactorily. This is also pending the outcome of any legal action between Stellenbosch and Yuri Roux. German sportswear company Adidas claims it has not cancelled its sponsorship of the International Association of Athletics Federations. Adidas does say, however, that it's monitoring how the body deals with its doping scandal. In January, it was reported that Adidas, the biggest sponsor of the IAAF, was ending its deal early after an independent report found Russia had engaged in widespread state-sponsored doping, with former IAAF President Lamine Diak being accused of covering it all up in return for bribes. Heiner, the CEO of Adidas, also welcomed reforms adopted last week at FIFA to help soccer's world governing body overcome its corruption scandal, saying that Adidas, along with other sponsors, were working to make sure that the reforms are put into practice. And International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach has announced that a team of refugees will compete at this year's Rio de Janeiro Olympics under the Olympics flag. They could number as many as 10 athletes. The team, which was officially approved by the IOC Executive Board and called Team of Refugee Olympic Athletes, that's ROA, will be made up from a pool of 43 prospective Olympians, also already identified by the IOC and supported with funds to train.
Today I'm happy to announce the creation of the Olympic team of Refugee Olympic Athletes, ROA. The IOC today has officially launched this team of Refugee Olympic Athletes. This team will be treated during the Olympic Games like all the other teams of national Olympic committees. This team will enjoy all the privileges like the other teams and athletes. And by welcoming the team of Refugee Olympic Athletes to the Olympic Games Rio 2016, we want to send a message of hope for all refugees of the world.
Very generous gesture there by the IOC, and one wonders exactly how they're going to manage all those logistics for these 10 athletes. Now, American Scott Percy and Marcus Fraser of Australia have the lead after the first round of the WGC Cadillac Championship. It's being played out at the Blue Monster in Miami, one of the toughest courses on the tour.
Scott Percy had looked strong all day, twice going to 7 under par, but he carded 2 bogeys in the closing stretch to slip back. But his 66 ties him for the lead in a stellar field. He recorded 7 birdies in a steady round, spoiled by a drop shot at the 8th. But those scores put the 2 players one clear of a field that includes the likes of Rory McIlroy, who double bogeyed his last for a 71. But Phil Mickelson is still well in it. He had an up-and-down back 9 before carding 4 birdies coming in to lie just a shot off the pace. The Blue Monster at Durrell is one of the toughest courses on the USPGA Tour. There's a group of 4 players on 4 under 68, including the on-form Englishman Danny Willett, as well as Australian Adam Scott and Americans Jason Duffner and Charlie Hoffman. World number 1 Jordan Spieth attracted the biggest galleries of the day in a high-profile Big 3 grouping with number 2 Jason Day and number 3 McIlroy. Spieth carded a 69 with 5 birdies and 2 bogeys, so he's definitely still in it. Janet Whitten, SABC News.
Right, that's where we leave it with the Sports Bulletin. Back now to Elvis.
Now today we end off the show with our local talent on DC, where Lisa Ndonga, known as Lisa Good, was a pop singer originally from Lamontville in KwaZulu-Natal. She began writing songs at the early age of 6, and her musical prowess led her into the local church choir. From gospel to rap, she now embraces pop music. Sandisiwe was snatched up by local entertainment producers and is now living her dream of becoming a South African superstar, set to perform in the USA in the coming months. Well, we'll come back to that performance in a short while, but news just in, very important now. The ANC's head of communications, Keith Khoza, has resigned. The ruling party says that Khoza was an invaluable part of its communication structures, and he will be turning to local provincial government. ANC national spokesperson Zizi Kodwa thanked Khoza for his service to the party and said he has been an invaluable part of the Department of Information and Publicity. But right now, let's now close the show with that performance as promised by Lisa Good.
Lisa Good. Walk up in the morning, feeling fly so high, man, higher than the sun, yeah. Look me in the mirror, never thought I'd be so in love with myself, yeah. Turn on the radio, can't believe what I'm hearing, they're playing my favorite song. And the lady on TV says it's 25 degrees. And I know it's gonna be a beautiful day for me. Yeah, I know it's gonna be a beautiful day, yeah. Welcome to my happy world. Whoa, where everything is on my terms. Yeah, what you want about? Why you keep hustling my number? Why you keep coming with the drama? We don't wanna trouble up in here. Welcome to my happy world. Whoa, everything is on my terms. Yeah, what you want about? Why you keep hustling my number? Why you keep coming with the drama? We don't wanna trouble up in here. Beautiful people everywhere I go. It's not like yesterday.
SABC News. We report, contextualize and present news and current affairs honestly, fairly and fully. We consider it a duty to provide